fam. I just wanted to speak out about the finances and the work life that these men didn't want me to ever have. My first job was working a grocery store, and my brother had called the store suggesting that something bad happened to my sister and that I had to leave to come home right away. And there wasn't anything serious as needing to get out of work. So all the times that it led up to was just to take away all of my jobs in much of the same way. But when I did lose that job, I was working at Denny's, and he had his girlfriend suggest that something was going on, coming up into my work saying, like, you have to leave right now. Again, not allowing me to work hours or eventually my job. When I worked at McDonald's, Jesse Lee had a special interview with my brother where the interviews would usually go out and be in public out at one of the tables, and they'd usually only be like 10-15 minutes long, maybe 20 minutes. This one was a whole lot longer, and it was in the back office, and all of that time I was very confused. Same feelings, just on macro levels of what they had been in the past and macro levels of what they had been in the future, based on just that feeling that you just can't breathe. And it's not like a breathing inability. Rather, I know what it is for myself, as though it was a calculated poisoning. So after having a few jobs, trying to get through school, I ended up going to get my GED. Well, next there was a staged event with one of my classmates to jump me. And they used one of those Louisville sluggers, clotheslined me in the back. And were rocking me side to side. And I know now that it was done to disguise that same crime, to try and not allow me to get through schooling, just as much as it wasn't to try and allow me to get through work, being a productive person in any fashion that you could imagine, because that's what the covert malignant narcissism that these people ran game on me did, is just not allow me to ever get out of that position. So after realizing, at the time going to school, I realized that these people just didn't want me to come back to school. And so I went and faced them. And it took like 3 days for them to quit school instead of me just staring them down. Like, I'm not gonna fucking have this shit. You quit. I'm trying to get through this. But it was the same thing in high school. Same type of thing, not necessarily getting jumped, but everyone from their grades, and these people would set me up. So as they would set me up, I would have never had been in certain situations if it wasn't for these setups. But I was. And by being in those situations and those setups, they would always be attacking me. And then even with the same people that would be set up to attack me in that way, would also be somehow just okay to go and make friends with these people. Like, these are my enemies, but yet my own brothers are gonna go hang out with these people. Okay, so there's breadcrumbs all over the place for contents of character being rather shady, misplaced. So then it was after getting out of school, getting my GED, it would be just any job that I would get to where now let's just psychologically just ruin this motherfucker. Just ruin me. Flat out, no ability to show forth a forthcoming or forthright way with me at all to suggest that they wanted to actually work with me, be around me, any of it. Because now it was, I was older, and it was to frame me as this man is a piece of shit, when it's all in reverse. It's all in reverse. Because I wouldn't have ever had done these things to these guys. I was suffering, being targeted, being misaligned in that way, and it was just constant. They brought constant nightmares into my life, psychological warfare, and affairs, like literal affairs inside of any relationship, especially a love life, but even just regular comrades would be gamed up in defense to continue being covert, never really having my back, always being there planning some stupid attack on my life. And so that's what they would do, and that's what they would get away with, to prevent me from having an organic go at any kind of relationship, or just your regular kinship, not only with them, but with anybody else. So it was suggested by my brother that he never wanted anybody to love me, ever. As if that's not malignant as fuck, narcissistic, and just straight up sociopathic, psychopathic behaviors. No one should have no one should have ever have had to deal with the things that I've had to deal with on these levels. Just flat out hatred for you for no reason other than what I think now was what started was with to indemnify and save face and protect my dad. But see, I didn't always see that because of the poisonings. You couldn't always reason through things to the point in which that you would want to be able to reason things, to see clear through what these people would do and how they would move and who they were. So I never really had an ability of my mind to be able to muscle the mind itself because my body was suffocating down to the cellular level. I couldn't breathe. And it's such a fogged out feeling of not being able to breathe, or a masked feeling that just comes on so strong. And especially when I was young, like I'm talking like 7 years old, 8 years old, young. It was so hard to deal with. And at times, very, very faint times, I would try and remember to myself, you have to remember this, that you're unable to speak. And that would happen over and over. Like, I would be unable to speak, unable to get my thoughts to process, to come out of my mouth, to say something was going on with me, to anybody. So anybody that would see me would just be seeing me as they saw me. However they saw me, that's how I was. That's who I was. Which is completely wrong. I was being poisoned. And in the first places, it was to poison me to death. And I remember it because both of these men looked at each other like that next morning, like, I don't know, dude. I don't know why it didn't work. And so I really think that they even then wanted me to go away quietly, as if it was just, you know, if I died at 5 or if I died at 9, if I died at 13, whenever I would have died back then, it wouldn't have fucking mattered to them at all. At all. Just like now, though. You think that they can say sorry and be accountable for their actions? Oh, fuck no. They need me lost in my reality, facing homelessness, nothing but this crime spree over my life of targeting. And mind you, having the state's aid in their little pockets, as far as to make me out to be the criminal for all of their crimes, for all of this time of being completely unable to speak to the facts of what was happening. And now that I'm able to finally speak the facts for what's happened to me, the state is trying to run game on me, as if I'm the one that's supposed to be lost inside of this warfare over my life, and not them, having to face anything to be accountable for their actions against me. It's just sick, and it's wrong, and these people know exactly what they've done. They know the fuck well what they've done. And then, so, what I believe happened was that because they couldn't continue the poisoning, they had to somehow get other people involved because they never wanted me to come back into myself like I did at 43. The best I've ever done. Worked my ass off tirelessly, day and night, 4 hours of sleep a night, maybe 6, 7 if I'm lucky at certain points. But if I did get that extra sleep, it would be, I need to work an extra 2-3 hours tonight and get 3 hours of sleep to keep grinding. So I've worked harder than anybody, dealing with homelessness, dealing with covert warfare, psychological manipulation, torture, and then these smear campaigns meaning to slander me in a way that was to take me out completely. All the while fighting for my life. Unable to reason through it, but fighting for my life. Fighting to breathe in my body. Fighting to figure out what the fuck just happened to me. Over and over and over and over again. So when I called back my autonomy and I got away from them, it's to say, now that I finally got away from them, I was able to slowly but surely have my memories come back to me. To where I was able to, little by little, be able to speak what my thoughts had been and what my thoughts were for many years. Many years. The whole lifespan of me trying to figure out this covert warfare, this spiritual warfare, this covert, maligned, narcissistic way that people with certain ties to these people, that they would instigate a love life, to plant a love life in my life, to be the same covert, malignant narcissists, and poisoning me to murder me. And though it didn't work, I can now see their own consciences, like looking through a clear sheet of glass. It was all fogged up before, and I couldn't see through that sheet of glass because it was so fogged up and dirty and murked out and muddy. But now I cleaned it. I cleaned that pane of glass, and it's no longer foggy. It's clear as day. So when I was finally able to feel a little bit more of that sunlight in my body, like, you just feel like you can finally level up. You can finally work to glow up. And each and every single time that I've felt those ways in the past, feeling a little bit more of my life coming together in my mind, I would be under attack. I would deal with another attack. Attack after attack after attack after attack of this type of gang stalking, targeting me, misaligning me, covertly maligning me with this narcissistic relationship after relationship after relationship. So when I was getting out of this last time, I told myself, just like the times before, really, that I'm going to deal with another attack, and this time I have to move differently if I'm going to be able to prevent death, if I'm going to be able to prevent them from killing me. Because now at that moment in time, I could finally see them for who they were, and I was calling them all out for their actions. Or I was playing the long game as far as being able to know what they were doing and absolutely know before I was going to be moving in silence in a different fashion. So I had to move in silence about what I knew and like really confront them differently or talk to them differently. But I mean, just for the example that I was telling Jesse to leave me the fuck be for the longest time, and he's never been able to leave me alone. He's been hacking me, hijacking my life in other areas, like creating my love life with my brothers to indemnify the actions that not only he couldn't do now all the time and be around me enough to poison me up all of the time, but they needed to instigate relationships inside of my life, like real trustworthy feeling relationships in order to indemnify their crimes. So it's a high cost now. It's a high cost. And it's been staging me up to die. So I'm not okay with it. Neither would anyone else be. And then to have the system siding with these people, like, oh, I don't have any right to my anger whatsoever. None at all. After my whole life has just been being washed out the whole time. Like, as if it's okay to just wash a person's life completely out of themselves. No, it's not okay. It's a fucking crime. And it doesn't matter if these Freemasonry fucking police want to do anything about it or not. It's a fucking crime. I have every right to call back my autonomy and to learn from how I should move based on the crimes as they've been permitted even to happen, based on the system's occultism working in bed with the rapey father of mine to then indemnify the crimes of poisoning me in the first place, being my father to abuse me and abuse my sister, and even getting my brothers inside of the abuse that they were left to work in my life and to continue to work in this way to keep me lost in my mind. I don't think it's right at all for the system to flake off as if it's just a whole fuck off design, meaning to gang stalk me all the way through my life, even at a young age, like having Officer Bennett of Wyzetta being a complete fucking tool, a complete fucking asshole towards me, and having no right, none whatsoever, to do certain things that he did, having to move my feet and shuffle my life in a different way than I would have ever had to have lived my life because of the way that these people would treat me. You see? So anyway, I'm trying to speak it out to the best of my ability, but as far as that's concerned, the trouble I'm still having is keeping everything in chronological order, and I'm doing better now than I have. But I hope that people understand my reasoning for not only that compatibility, or just the problem of having my mind being compatible with my own words and my own vocabulary, to then also be able to realize that I have the right to speak out about these things that have happened to me. So anyway, if you're with me on that, please support me and show me some love, unconditional love and support. I really appreciate it, and thanks for being here. Goodbye for now, and I'll speak out more later. I just hope that you'll actually pay attention to my story, because I believe it's the worst crime of its type to happen to anybody, and it just so happens to be happening to me. And like, nobody it works within the law and the justice system even fucking cares, because they're all, if you ask me, they're all in cahoots with the devil shit. So it's like, oh, who cares if he was just poisoned up his whole life and almost died however many times before he realized that he was being poisoned to death and had to call back his autonomy to get away from the people that were doing it to him. Because it's just, dude, if that's the case, fuck your whole world. Fuck your whole worldly design, and fuck you wearing a badge, and fuck you being a judge, and fuck all of these fakes. And that's real talk. Peace out. Thanks for being here.